we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by relentless Bill Robinson from Newsmax. How you doing this morning, Bill?
I'm doing fine, but I'm struck by another somber day. They're coming after us and trying to kill more of us, and they just won't stop. So I wish I could say like it's a great day and, you know, the sun's out or something, or, you know, I'm looking forward to a nice day at the park. I'm not looking forward to any of those things. I'm looking forward to getting further information on the people who are trying to kill us, quickly trying them and then executing them. I've had enough of this.
Yeah, well, here the sun's not even out. It's raining over here, so I don't even have that. But yeah, lead story, and we're going to probably have some updates this because this is just breaking. It was about 6:30 in the morning this started, but there was a sniper attack on an ICE facility in Dallas. Sniper attack at Dallas ICE facility leaves 3 wounded, local media reports. Now, I am also seeing that potentially it was 4 wounded, not 3. We're also... at least one of them has passed away. They are reporting in other places that there were 2 casualties, plus the sniper that apparently shot himself in the head after taking shots at the ICE facility. And again, this is still developing. Of course, the left-leaning media, the leftist media, is already out there blaming conservatives for it because detainees were shot. Again, the information is still coming in. However, again, the likelihood, I would say, if someone's attacking an ICE facility, who would that be? Probably Antifa. It could be accidental that the detainees were hit in the crossfire. We'll see as the story continues to develop. They haven't released the ID of the shooter yet. However, I'm seeing a few other things circulate that make sense. Zero Hedge is reporting, due to a tip or information they got from somebody on the ground there, that this may be linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. So last night, approximately 3 hours before the shooting started, they did a roundup and grabbed several Muslim Brotherhood members. So this also could explain why detainees were shot at if they didn't want them to talk, or they had inside information, or again, this is Dallas, so this is close to where the Epic was going in. If there's information on a local terror cell and these people had knowledge of it, so that's a possibility. Others are pointing to Antifa or something related to that. And Bill, you had a good idea of what may have led to this too.
Yeah, I'm on the case about this story. I lived in Dallas. I have many friends. I still go there frequently, so I know the exact area. My best friend drives past there every morning on his way to work. I know that area very well, along 35 by Dallas there. And I think what's happening here is I think that this is the lunatic fringe, these disgusting Democrat communists, whatever they're calling themselves today, socialists. They're going into phase 2. The pundits on the right have been saying for a while that phase 2 is the false flag, where they've been talking about for a long time now Trump's going to shoot a bunch of black people during a protest. Trump's going to shoot a bunch of immigrants during an ICE raid. And instead of, I think the general, the Fox News theory is that this guy missed the ICE agents and hit the detainees. I don't believe it for a second. I believe he targeted detainees so that they could say, "Oh, it's a MAGA guy, and he's killing illegal immigrants who are being processed," and then try to start their false flag civil war, race-based civil war. And people have been talking about this very clearly and very believably about it for a long time. So I don't think this guy missed. And of course, he was a self-destruct criminal. Because whoever's behind this, we've seen this from time and time again, from Butler to, all these places where these idiots commit suicide. It's either commit suicide or they're going to put a bullet in their head as soon as they're running away from the building. The people behind it know they can't allow these people to be caught because it'll be so obvious, like Ryan Routh. They're just mentally unstable for whatever reason, whether they've been snatched by the CIA and given strobe lights and heavy metal music and LSD to just derange their minds. That's proven. That sounds like, conspiracy theory. It's not. You just look at what the CIA has done since the 60s and the 50s. And so this is yet another gigantic conspiracy that is true and not theory.
Well, I guess we'll have to see if they find him with a copy of Catcher in the Rye in his pocket.
Right. Or some kind of fascination with Jodie Foster. I mean, all of this is such nonsense. And I got to say, I was there in Dallas in 2016 when they killed 5 police officers. And you can't imagine how that town was lit up with fear and emotion. That's what these people want. They want us to be afraid. And we can't be afraid anymore. We can't be afraid.
Well, the other possibility you'd mentioned that I think they should at least investigate is cartel involvement.
I agree. I think your Muslim Brotherhood prediction or observation is excellent. I think that's a distinct possibility. The Muslim Brotherhood has to be routed out like the other vermin in our country right now. But who knows how this is going to turn out? It's definitely not going to turn out to be a deranged MAGA supporter. We don't do these kinds of things. And so, you got to know that in 2016, when those 5 officers were killed, I went to AI, as I like doing. I like setting AI up to fail and to lie to me, which it does frequently. And I said, "Tell me about this thing." Oh, 5 officers were killed during a peaceful protest. It wasn't a peaceful protest. I was downtown for this thing. It's like the fiery but peaceful protest thing. This is right out of their playbook. And essentially, the police officers were ambushed by a sniper from a parking garage. And so they were killed one by one, very systematically and very intentionally. And, Dallas was in mourning for weeks after that. And who would want to be a police officer in Dallas after that? So that feeds into defund the police. The last thing I want to say is the mayor of Dallas is another big, sweaty, lying Johnson, like Johnson from Chicago, right? We've got another disgusting DEI guy. Apparently he converted. You mentioned to me that he converted to become a Republican. I don't care. He's been supporting being a sanctuary city quietly, while on the outside saying, "I don't support a sanctuary city." And he's been supporting the idea of not allowing these immigration sweeps quietly again, while on the outside, supporting being very much against ICE and the sweeps. Now, I did just a quick AI question to set up AI again, and I said, "Is Mayor Eric Johnson of Dallas a supporter of Dallas becoming a sanctuary city, and is he against ICE?" And it said, no, he's not any of those things. No. Some people misinterpret what he says and what he does. No, he's not like that at all. And then my very next question to them, based on that question, was, why does AI lie to me when I ask questions about Eric Johnson and the mayor of Dallas about ICE and sanctuary cities? And it came back with an interesting response, right? This is classic lying. This is psychopathy. AI said, in a previous answer, an AI model gave inaccurate or incomplete information regarding Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson's position on immigration and customs enforcement, ICE. This type of error, where an AI presents false information as fact, is known as a, quote, hallucination, unquote.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar with the AI hallucinations where it just decides to make things up out of the blue or hide things or whatever else. And yeah, they still don't have a real solution to this problem either of why it's doing it. Sometimes it's due to like conflicts in programming or conflicts in what the information is, but they still don't understand what's causing the problem, which, again, is going to be a major issue because it's somewhere between 20 to 30% of responses that AI is giving on complex questions right now include so-called hallucinated information. But it is sort of like an interesting, complex problem when you think about it, that, the AI doesn't have the same capability that a person does right now to discern information from different sources. It just looks at what's out there and then reports back on what it said. It's not really able to critically think about the information the way a person can. So I wonder if that's going to be a problem they can solve. Again, unrelated to this, because the hallucinations are not just political. They're on just about any complex question. But yeah, the attack on this ICE facility was not the only one that has occurred within the last 24 hours. We also had this in Oregon. Let me get this up here. And sorry, I was just looking for an update on that, and so far there doesn't appear to be any new information other than the critically wounded person is at a local hospital now, and they have stabilized them. But we'll keep looking back.
One of the reasons there's no further information is because they've had the news, the press conference set up for the last hour, and who are they waiting on? That big, sweaty, disgusting, lying Johnson, the mayor. And he's taking his time. Probably stopped at Krispy Kreme to get a big cup of coffee, and I mean, he's taking his time. So Fox News is sitting there waiting for him to show up. I say they go ahead without him and let him weigh in with a press release later.
Yeah, you'd think, but yeah, I don't know. This all did just happen, so maybe, I guess we'll see. Masked Antifa terrorists surround federal building in Eugene, Oregon to protest ICE, block employees from exiting. Feds make several arrests. Now, let me go ahead and play this video from Katie Davenport.
Fucking be here with your fucking iPhone.
There's the Antifa tank division. Well, looks like it grabbed the wrong video when I was downloading. There was another one that actually showed the ICE agents scooping up some of these Antifa terrorists. So they surrounded the building. They were preventing employees from leaving. They ended up having to run out there and arrest several of them. I haven't been able to find a number on how many were actually arrested or were ended up being charged. But they had to send out their employees through alternate exits and escort them out to their vehicles. But again, why is this still being allowed to continue? They're already on the domestic terror list. We should be going out and scooping up all of them, especially when they do things like this. Like, I get again, I don't agree with it, but I understand, the current directives, they're just standing out there with signs or whatever to just leave them be. But I thought now that they were on the terror watch list, we were supposed to be grabbing all these terrorists and charging them. Because, I mean, this has gone on forever, both in Eugene, Oregon. We've had continuous problems in Portland. It's gone on for months where they're being attacked going in and out. We showed the video last week, I think, of what went on in the facilities outside Chicago. And I mean, it's time to actually... If there aren't consequences and we just keep letting them do this, it's only going to continue. We got to send a message that this is no longer acceptable. Scoop them all up when they're participating in a riot or attacking federal law enforcement officers, or it's never going to change.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe these people are related to us in any way or have our same genetic Homo sapien bipedal makeup. It's like they're a different species. And, what the law really needs to be crafted to do is if you're in the general vicinity of some anti government vandalism, harming ICE, harming police officers, spitting on police officers, whatever it is, if you're in the vicinity wearing black and wearing glasses and a Palestinian headscarf, or using an umbrella or carrying bricks, any of these things, if they even think you're associated with one of these little gatherings, then you need to be, as you say, scooped up. I'm going to suggest a little different form of transportation for these people. Let's say they're a block away. So what we need to do is zip tie their hands, zip tie their legs, and then get a long pole with a couple of sturdy police officers on each end, and just thread the pole through their arms and legs. This way we can carry 3 or 4 of them at the same time and just put them right in the paddy wagon. There's a term. Well, we need paddy wagons, and a lot of them right now, because this is going to get very space intensive, because they're so huge and they eat so well in this country they hate, that maybe a bigger paddy wagon and a starvation diet when they're taken to the Hoosgow is in order. These people are just beyond contempt. And I think you're right. I think you and I kind of demand action very quickly, and sometimes it's just not doable. He just signed the order. What I think is going to happen is I think they're ramping up. They need a little time to ramp up. Got to give them a little time to ramp up. A little time, not much, but a little. You don't want them to get comfortable and inert, but give them a little time. And I think it's going to be just mass scooping up festivities. And
well, it better be.
I can hardly wait.
It better be, because they were waiting for this declaration, so I want to see them do something with it. Now they're on the terror watch list. They can already grab them if they're not just if they're known members of Antifa. So this is one of the other stories they were all freaking about after this Trump signed this executive order or made the declaration that they had already gone through all their websites. They have a list of somewhere, I've heard between 35 and 40,000 names of known Antifa members or affiliates or people that are supporters. Plus, they're caught with any Antifa symbolism. And this includes like the black bloc, the other little badges and other stuff that they wear, the phrases, all that. If they're out there protesting with that stuff, they can be rounded up under the same rules as Antifa or those in support of Antifa, thus in support of terrorism. But yeah, to your point, I don't know. That's going to have to be a really sturdy pole if we're hog tying them and bringing them 3 at a time. I mean, you saw these people. The guys are all little soy boys, but man, the women, that's the Antifa tank division right there. Those are some. There's a lot of diabetes going on over with that side of Antifa.
Oh boy, you're spot on with that observation. It never occurred to me that we're talking about skinny soy boys in mom jeans with man buns. You're right. I really hadn't seen that distinction. Wow, it's so true. And for any people who are saying, "Gee, Bill, thanks for the image of the hogtied being carried on a stick," I'm
literally
really
squealing
hopeful.
like a pig.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful for that kind of thing. President Trump can. I'm hoping he'll very quickly add BLM, Code Pink, the LGBTQ controlling group, whichever that is, and perhaps even Occupy. Occupy is still kind of a foundational part of Antifa, and so Occupy. When we start declaring these groups, terrorist groups, then Occupy will resurface, and everybody will be saying, "I'm Occupy. It's not against the law yet." So I'm hoping Trump gets on that and expands the law very quickly. But I'm also hoping he'll come out and say, as he did with the statue burners and destroyers, he said, if you destroy a statue, you'll get 10 years in prison. And yeah. I think he signed a bill about it during his first term. And all of a sudden, we saw a rapid decline in the burning of statues. I think he might have done something similar with the flag, and we saw a rapid decline in the burning of the flag. That's what we need to do. We need the strong leader that Trump is to come in and start making threats, and people take him seriously now, just like Putin and Zelensky and everybody else does. So in any event, I'm just waiting expectantly and praying for these people to be driven out of our society.
Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later. All right, we do need to take a quick break here from our sponsors, and we're going to be right back with even more.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Life can be pretty unpredictable, filled with good days and not so good days. And sometimes, the only difference between the two is your level of preparedness. The Jace case lets you be better prepared for whatever comes your way. It contains antibiotics and other prescription medications so that you aren't caught unprepared. With a Jace case, you are able to get your prescription medication before the unpredictable happens, allowing you to turn those not so good days into great ones. Go to jace.com now and get your own Jace case.
Thank you for staying with us, and the best way to support our program and all the great programs here on X America News is by supporting our sponsors. So I do want to encourage you guys to go to jace.com or jacemedical.com, use code INSURRECTION, and pick up a Jace case for yourself and your family. This isn't a Band-Aid kit or a boo-boo box. It's just, this contains prescription medication, things like antibiotics, non-narcotic pain relievers, steroids, and other drugs that could be necessary or even life-saving if there's an emergency and help is not on the way. The Jace also offers a variety of other kits. If you have a family member with, say, frequent UTIs, or you want to get a parasite cleanse, they also offer longer-term supplies of necessary drugs. If someone in your family's on blood thinners or has diabetes, something like that, they can get anywhere from a 1 month to a 1 year supply for you to have on hand in case our drug supply gets cut off, or if we're in the middle of a natural disaster or an economic collapse or whatever else. It's a great way, inexpensive way to protect your family. It's filled with items that are better to have and not need than need and not have. So again, if you go to jace.com or jacemedical.com and use code INSURRECTION, you'll get an additional discount and be supporting all the work that we're doing here on this program and on X America News. Well, it looks like we are seeing some updates on this story, and several places now are reporting that 4 people were shot in addition to the sniper shooting himself. So I don't know if that's somebody else that was lightly wounded and able to be treated on site or what, but again, we'll keep an eye on it, and who knows, it could go back to 3 in a little while because, it's all still happening now.
This is something I don't understand, and I think we need to correct quickly. Just a small issue I have. I'm tired of them the media including the shooter as one of the dead. Let's just keep him separate from the number of dead, okay? Him or her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. No, that's not a dead person. Let's keep them separate. I don't want to have to. I'd like to add that person later if I decide to increase the number of dead.
Well, I think that is what most places are, keeping him separate, but they're saying there may be up to 4 victims now. At least that's what I'm seeing across Gateway Pundit and a few other places. So who knows? And, maybe that's somebody that was lightly injured, somebody that was injured, not necessarily shot, but, injured running for cover or whatever. But, it's still developing, so we'll find out.
Single gunman with a bolt-action rifle. We've heard it all before.
Well, that, I don't think anybody's saying yet. So we don't know if it's a bolt-action or semi-automatic or anything else.
Mark my words, it's coming.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, even then, though, if you're in a high position on a building with a sniper rifle and they're not already prepared, no security teams, you're going to be able to get off a lot of shots fast if you even have a remote idea of what you're doing. So I don't really know that makes such a big difference. They did say he's on top of a law firm that had a bunch of immigration law attorneys in it. So we'll see what develops. California bans most law enforcement, including federal agents, from wearing masks. Again, this is typical insanity from the left. They want these ICE agents to be harassed at home. They want them to be doxxed. They want their family members to be harassed by these leftist wingnuts, these Antifa vigilantes. There's no other reason for this. There's no reason for them to be forced not to wear masks. Now, again, this is common. When I used to live in Kissimmee, they were doing a lot of drug interdictions the first year or two I was down there, and they had a whole squad of police officers at KPD that would go out in masks all the time when they'd make the roundups, because they were mostly working undercover positions. It's like, this is a normal thing for law enforcement to do, whether it's ICE or whoever else. And now Kristi Noem and others have already said they can go pound sand. They're just not going to follow this law. But watch. I wouldn't be at all surprised if you see an order go out to LAPD or whoever else that if ICE is doing roundups and they're wearing masks, to arrest the ICE officers, and then we're going to have a standoff. So let's see what else happens. But again, the reasoning behind this makes zero sense.
Yeah, obviously, California, can't ban intelligence or wisdom. That's the next thing that's coming from these people. And they obviously can make no laws that affect federal law enforcement doing their job according to the Constitution. So obviously, it's just another thing to make California look bad and to continue the exodus from California. Pretty soon, California is just going to be a desert with, there's going to be nobody there if it continues. Obviously, gruesome Newsom is just going to just destroy the place. He's on a mission. I don't know why he thinks that's going to lead to the presidency, but he's dead wrong. These brave law enforcement guys do need to be masked. They used to be masked because they were undercover. Now they need to be masked just because they're there and they can be doxxed. And these people are using facial recognition and doxing them and finding out where they live and going after their families. So there's very good reason for this. And I suggest that all good red states that are run by competent red governors and mayors enact a different kind of mask ban. And that's on any kind of masking around even if you're any effort to hide your eyes or your hair or your face in public, with the possible exceptions of these poor, sick people who insist on wearing, COVID masks all the time. And they are poor, sick people. I think that if you're wearing any kind of identity hiding gear or material, you should be taken in for questioning immediately and told that you just can't walk around that way. So, because you're out to commit a crime either way. And so we've got to start taking these people in and saying no. And everybody will just get used to it, like, standing in those circles 6 feet apart or going up a grocery store aisle in one direction only, all of the social distancing things. We should start to employ those things, which did become law very easily and very quickly under the Emergency Powers Act. And Trump can use that now, too. We should start banning all that, use those same tactics they use so brutally against us, against them.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to look this up right now, but I think there's a state that's already banned wearing masks at protests. So that's really the route to go. Somebody is sick and, has an actual medical reason for wearing a mask outside of a protest. I don't really have a problem with it. Even during COVID, I mentioned this before, I just didn't refuse to wear a mask most places, but I did have one client that she was going through cancer treatments. She was immunocompromised, so she nicely asked all of us if we were having meetings to wear a mask. Yeah, but otherwise, I just refused. I would just ignore whoever told me, because I knew they usually didn't have the balls to follow me into a store and then actually pull me out. So I would just ignore them, pretend I didn't speak English, keep walking. They won't do anything. But yeah, I think that's a simple solution. Ban masks at protests. If you're there to be violent or intimidate people or whatever else, then, same rules should apply. We should be able to know who you are, who's participating. Maybe you'll work for a local business there that wouldn't be happy about what you're doing. Maybe we should tell your employer. Again, these are the games they played with us for years during COVID and afterwards. So, I think it's time to give them a taste of their own medicine. And again, this California mask ban, I just looked this up too. I guess there's already a challenge in court, so it sounds like this is going to get slapped down pretty quickly anyway, before they even get to try to implement it.
Yeah, and I again, with all these frivolous and ridiculous and absurd loser court cases that they're filing against President Trump and the rest of us decent Americans, decent tax-paying, employed Christian Americans, they need to really start to crack down on this. It's just beyond. So yes, we have to really make a different set of rules for the two distinct lines between our society that have been created. There's two groups, and we have to make different laws for different people. I know that affects due process and equal justice under the law, but we've really reached a point where these people don't deserve constitutional protections if it's going to allow them to hurt us and kill other people. And really, they killed a bunch of people during the St. George Floyd protests with disgusting riots, and they just got to be stopped. This is beyond the pale, and it requires, as I've said before, posse comitatus, habeas corpus being suspended, and the invocation by President Trump of the Insurrection Act. We are in the middle of an insurrection, as this show is so beautifully entitled. It's not just a joke when you called this show The Insurrection, we're in the middle of an insurrection since the Obama regime of terror. So, it's got to stop, and common sense needs to prevail.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with one thing. I don't think we even need two separate laws. It's the same law for everybody. We can just put out common sense legislation, because the right's not going to violate that. We're not going to do that kind of stuff anyway that we're talking about outlawing. So you wouldn't have to have separate laws or separate anything, because again, like, our side is not going to go out there and get violent or do anything else. The few times. Besides January 6th, the few times where you've seen any violence from the right, it's been in defense or, well, actually, I'm not even aware of any other cases. So yeah, it's been defensive violence, or it's been the media, like with I always forget his name, the guy in the New York subway.
Bernard Getz. Oh,
no.
Another guy, the guy who chokeholded the guy who was going to murder people. Yeah. Daniel
Penny.
There you go. You nailed it.
But yeah, they try to construe that as right-wing violence, and we saw how even the courts went on that one. Even they had enough common sense to realize this guy was protecting the people on the subway. Hopefully he sues the city into oblivion there, because we've got to get back to individual rights and the right to self-defense, and eliminate all these ideas from the left. Well, right now they're going after Tom Holman yet again, bringing up an old case that was dismissed under Biden. Biden's FBI tried to entrap Tom Holman, but he never took the $50,000 bribe. And this is from Carolyn Levitt. But yeah, they're trying to bring this back up again. But this was, just like with the case with General Flynn, this was fictitious to begin with. This was the FBI attempting to entrap Tom Holman, not successfully, and then eventually the case against him was dismissed because there was nothing to it. He never took the money. It was two undercover FBI agents asking him to grease the skids for somebody, if I remember correctly. But he wouldn't. He didn't move forward with it. He didn't take the money. There was no case there. They just tried to entrap him.
Yeah, entrapment's got to stop, obviously. And the FBI is still filled with a lot of these people who were undoubtedly involved in that kind of operation. But the court cases, the frivolous court cases against the Trump administration and the federal government by the states, they should not be allowed to use taxpayer money. They should be forced to use some of the money they've stolen from taxpayers and have on the side and get from George Soros, so that we can nail Soros down. We've got to attack this in a very systematic way, like nailing everything down. Yeah,
well, we talked about that before. That is where a lot of the money's coming from. Remember that?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, the mortgage guy, the little Weasley guy that we had the picture from the 70s from him. But yeah, that's who's funding a lot of the lawfare. But same thing, we ought to be able to go after them if they're using their own money to perpetrate these hoaxes. But you're right, otherwise, the federal government certainly shouldn't be picking up the bill for any of these cases. If California wants to file all these lawsuits, they can spend California's dollars they don't have. I mean, they already had to take out a $40-something billion loan to cover health insurance for illegal aliens, which again illustrates their priorities. So, they can pay for it themselves. They can make their own citizens suffer. I guess it's more important to go after Trump than it is to have water for your next round of wildfires, or to have safe streets without where you're not having to step over drug addicts and poop and dirty syringes.
Well, you and I have both been very hard on the DOJ and Bondi, Bongino, and Patel. Is it possible, Michael, that we're a little off base on that? That they've got so much to do. I'm not trying to give them an excuse, but that they've got so much to do and there are so many people to arrest that they're just trying. It's like taking a sip of water from a fire hose. It's just a daunting task, right? Is it possible that they need to be given a little longer? I mean, it has to happen. These kinds of mass arrests have to happen before the midterms. But is it possible we're being a little unrealistic, expecting 8,000 arrests of disgusting high-level leftists?
No, it's not. No, definitely not, because we don't have. Honestly, that shows even more why we have the wrong people in there. If they can't prioritize and get some of these high-profile arrests, if they're constantly be distracted by everything new that's happening, then we have the wrong people in the office, or. Because it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be Bondi with her magnifying glass individually going over every case and putting it together. She can delegate out to other prosecutors. And I know there's a problem that they need more lawyers, they need more people, but you would prioritize these high profile or important cases and make sure that's done. Assign them off to your best people, whether that's Ed Martin or whoever else that they've got over there right now. And even though there's always going to be new investigations and other things moving, you've got to make these arrests. Like Trump said the other day, it's starting to hurt their credibility because, we're over 9 months in now. We haven't seen one high-profile arrest. We've seen them snap into action to respond to the Tesla terrorism and other things as they happen to make quick arrests there. But otherwise, again, I don't understand what the holdup is. Even with Henry Cuellar, high-profile Democrat, taking all this illegal money. Now they're on their second case with him. It's the original $600,000 from illegal foreign contributions, the another $120,000 with money that was either smurfed or somehow otherwise laundered into his organization, allegedly. But yeah, you can make these arrests. Though there's, like I said ad nauseum, 3 months sitting on criminal referrals on people lying to Congress, presenting false testimony, false information. There is no excuse to not have made some of these arrests now.
Well, yeah. Citizen Lauber is a very difficult guy to satisfy. I am too. I want to be difficult too. And so that's why I posed this potential excuse as a question to you, but you just dismissed with a hard no.
No.
You're certainly right about that. But I think also we're going to have great expectations for Ed Martin. Ed Martin better hit the ground running, because I'm not going to tolerate any laissez-faire kind of justice from that guy. He better really be making some high-profile arrests, and we better see some action out of him quickly, because I'm not going to let him fall in with the other ones with their feet on their desks. And then Andrew Bailey, the new co-deputy head of the FBI, with Bongino. So Bongino apparently hasn't done the job alone. We needed some fresh reinforcements for him. Maybe he was a little tired from all the inauguration and everything. But now Bailey better start doing some stuff. We're going to have great expectations for these two men. And, where's Harmeet Dillon? I want more civil rights stuff done with Harmeet Dillon. I want to hear her talking every other day about what she's doing. I love Harmeet Dillon, but, I don't know.
Well, she seems, to me at least, she seems to be doing more than most of the rest of them, because at least she is filing some of these cases. Maybe, again, not as quickly as some of us would like, but she does seem to be on top of things and responding much better. And, I'll give Ed Martin some credit, too. However, he formed these grand juries several weeks ago, and as far as I know, those are wrapped up for the Letitia James case now, which means he probably must have gotten his indictments returned. So where are the arrests? Again, I would think once you had met with the grand jury, once that was all settled, maybe it takes a few days then to get your paperwork, your thoughts in order, and file everything. But we should have seen some forward action, some momentum on this stuff. That's what I just don't understand. We kept hearing, June or July, we'll finally see some arrests. Well, we're in September now, so that's passed. So I want to see these arrests. And again, they can start with the low-hanging fruit. I understand building some of these other cases takes time, but I also feel like at this point, 9 months is enough time to have built at least some of these cases. Now, we're hearing from some people that we'll finally see some arrests next week. I'm definitely not holding my breath, but there have been some stuff circulating that I'm trying to remember who it was in particular. They were saying that's going down next week. We did just see a big update on the Mustache Man's case on John Bolton. That apparently, in addition to other classified information, he had comms devices he wasn't supposed to have on hand, and documents on weapons of mass destruction. We're not going to get to cover that story today, because honestly, it was just a tiny update. But maybe that's a preview of some of what they're going to charge him with. But yeah, I'm tired of this. It's time for some arrests, and it's time to for some arrests of some of these Antifa terrorists. They're still attacking ICE and attacking other people, blocking events from happening. Going after ICE agents and going after, showing up at Charlie Kirk memorials, terrorizing people there. We got to start treating them for the terrorists they are, or nothing's going to change.
I think you're right. I think we did see something on the indictment from Martin of Big Tish James, the tank of a Trump hater up in New York. And I think they released like some kind of first page or something of the indictment. I'm hoping that when it comes time to arrest her on this indictment, that it's not a situation where like she gets to turn herself in at her convenience or lawyers negotiating her being turned in. No, that happens with the president of the United States when he's forced into Fulton County, Georgia for a mugshot and stuff like that. But he's only allowed to turn himself in because he's a former president. Big Tish is a former, cretin. She's done nothing. She's learned nothing. She's accomplished nothing in her awful little life. So she needs to be dragged from her office publicly with TV crews, kind of similar to the Roger Stone method. Give CNN a tip, except in this case, it's all the conservative media that gets to be there with their cameras as they drag her out of there babbling something about, but Biden said, this. Oh boy, let's make that a real show trial. And I'm tired of the left getting these closed trials with no information. Like Ryan Routh, for instance, that should have been televised from beginning to end. And so we've got to start letting the cameras into the courtroom, showing these people arrested, not negotiating quiet surrenders where you don't see the mugshot, anything like that. We saw the mugshot on President Trump. I want multiple mugshots. I want to see all three mugshots on Big Tish James. And she's just, it's just like it's stop stacking the deck against the right and helping the left. Start televising the court cases as we go through them now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my book, I guess she's a big fish physically, but small fish in the grand scheme of things. And I really want, I want the real people behind the scenes. Barack Obama, everybody connected to his web, everybody around the Bidens, everybody around the Russiagate, the real perpetrators behind the scenes. We need to decimate the left and all their little deep state people that went after us, that weaponized the federal government for the last several years and put all these fake cases against Trump together, gone after other people with fake cases. It's time to make them pay. Letitia James is, a corrupt crony, but she's not that important in the grand scheme of things. She's a tool. She's somebody they push to do it. That whatever. Again, not that I don't want to see justice for her, but I want the real people, the brains behind the operation. I want the left just totally disabled and crippled.
I agree, and I just want to add that I'm sick of looking at Big Tish's big face. It's like she's Tyler Perry playing a grandmother or something. I don't know what's going on with that woman, but she is way out of control. So.
Well, The Atlantic committed a random act of journalism and has a fantastic article you guys should check out. Left-wing terrorism is on the rise. I am shocked that they did not blame it on the right or anything else. It's actually a pretty interesting introspective article. I don't know if somebody slipped on the shower and hit their head before writing this or what happened, but they're actually admitting they've got a big problem. If they don't deal with it quickly, they are going to lose every voter in the middle and a lot of these Democrats that are just not down for violence.
Yeah, slipped in the shower. That's a good possibility. I think most of the writers over at The Atlantic are like ayahuasca heads. So they put fingers to typewriter after imbibing a good dose of that popular hallucinogen that the left's all doing. I didn't read the article. I will read it. It sounds like you read it. I would have suspected that with that headline deeper, probably after the first paragraph, you'd see claims of it's justified left-wing violence because of what the right is doing. And so
Well,
that's the thread they always love to put in to these articles that sounds like they're finally coming to their senses.
yeah, I didn't see anything in there with them trying to justify it or blame the right for the left's violence. And maybe I missed it because I did skim through this pretty quickly. But, they seem to be mostly concerned, again, not even with the results or the fact that they're killing people and hurting people. It's that the violence it's destroying their party. That it's unacceptable at unacceptable levels. They did take a stand on political violence, saying that's never acceptable from either side, no matter what the circumstances are. But, again, I think there's going to be some people, like we've seen a few of these other strategists, basically say the same thing, that if they don't get away from this position and stop supporting it, or trying to justify it, that it's not working. Nobody believes the excuses, and the middle of the country is leaving the party. So it's mostly, again, they may be right on the money. It may or may not be for the right reasons. I don't really care. The fact of the matter is they are admitting it's a problem. It's on their side. And it needs to change now. Now, again, they're probably mostly concerned because there'll be a non-viable party, in the next election cycle if something doesn't change. But regardless, at least they're addressing it.
Well, the apologies, the left will always, when the charades and all their lies are finished and nobody believes them, they'll always resort to, we were just stupid or we were temporarily mentally ill. They think that that's going to get them out of any resulting court actions or arrests. And then they also start apologizing or start saying they'll finally admit what everybody knows, that the left is responsible for increasing violence. But I think, it's part of, now that we have them on the run so much, we're going to see more and more of this. Keep your eyes open for the fake apologies, like Jimmy Kimmel. Fake apology last night on his new show. Supposedly, he'd already had something lined up. Where's that? Where did that go? This guy is simply a scheming lefty who decided that he didn't want to risk making the millions he was making from having 156,000 viewers every night. And so I think his apology was totally unacceptable. And it wasn't really an apology. And at one point he was like kind of tearful. He's kind of tearful, fake crocodile tears, but kind of tearful. Oh, and if you believe in the love of Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, you're supposed to be Jewish, my friend. You don't even acknowledge, if you're a real Jew, you don't really acknowledge Jesus Christ. You don't want to enter into conversations about Jesus Christ. But here he is crying about the love of Jesus Christ. No, I'm not buying any of it. And just a quick breaking news tidbit, Keith Olbermann's now apologizing. So we're going to face a lot more of this. I hope they continue with their nonsense and their BS, but I think they're going to start ratcheting that down. They're going to start calming down and talking about, the love of Christ and how great America is. But don't ever forget, don't ever think that they've changed their stripes. Don't ever think that they've moved over to love America and Jesus Christ, because it'll never happen.
I don't think they'll make that move, to be honest with you. I think they've already picked their side, that there may be some strategists like the people that, might have been behind the article. And again, maybe they are just more traditional Democrats that see what's happening. We don't know. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to make that move. I think they're going to continue to embrace violence, and that's just who they are now. And even if some people at the top see otherwise, their actions of the mob underneath whatever's left of the Democrat Party's corpse is going to continue to do that. Well, Harriet out there, CNN data analyst says Republicans have midterm advantage. Whatever Democrats are doing, it ain't working. All right, let me run this video for you guys real quick.
Yeah, what are we seeing? Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats saying, this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing, because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. What are we talking about? Trust the Dems or GOP more on the economy? Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime? A big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Look at that. Lead by 22 points. So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
Give some context on this. Compare this when Republicans last took the House.
Yeah, let's compare it back to 2022. I think this kind of gives away the game right here. Okay, the GOP is more trusted than the Dems on the economy. It was 12 points in 2022. Slight decline in that lead, but still 7 points. How about immigration? It was Republicans by 3 back in 2022. Look at this. The Republican lead's actually gone up by 10 points. What are you doing, Democrats? My goodness gracious. And on crime, the Republicans were up by 13, and now they're up by 22. The lead, again, expanding by nearly double digits. So whatever Democrats are doing, it ain't working, Kate. It ain't working. Republicans have the lead on all three issues.
What's the reason that you are finding so far that's driving this?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all about the center of the electorate, right? You win with independents, you win overall. And what do we see right here among independents? Republicans still have a point lead on the economy. They got a 10-point lead on immigration. They got a 21-point lead on crime. The bottom line is, when you look at these numbers, Democrats should call their offices, because at this particular point, even if Republicans, or even if the public doesn't like what Donald Trump is doing, they ain't necessarily liking what Democrats are doing. And it ain't just a referendum on one party. You actually have to go out and beat that party. At this particular point, Democrats are not able to beat Republicans. They still lead on
And again,
other
this
issues.
isn't as Donald Trump came into office. These are numbers from this month.
These are numbers from September of 2025. We still find that the Republicans leading on all three of these issues. And of course, this economy will be the key. If Democrats are going to win, they're going to have to likely win on the economy. At this particular point among independents, you see that 1-point lead for Republicans. And overall, at least according to the Washington Post, they hold a 7-point lead on the economy overall as well.
Where to begin? I know you like this guy. I can't stand him. I don't know who the bonehead who replaced Jeff Zucker as the head of CNN is, but he must have said, hey, we'll get rid of Lemon and Cuomo and all these other idiots, and then we'll bring back some other idiots nobody's ever heard of, and then we'll insert a few truth tellers. Like, we've got Scott Jennings. We don't want him to get too big because he makes us look like morons, but we'll insert this other guy who's a truth teller. And then he'll purposely understate the numbers, but he'll give a lot of credence to the idea that the right is winning, that the GOP, the Republicans, the MAGA people are winning, and then he'll act. So gay, right? But okay, he can be gay and still contribute to the national conversation. But this is too much. This guy is like, I don't know why they're doing this. It's like they're going to lead to their own demise. And the numbers are, it doesn't make any sense that we're 7% up on the economy. I mean, it's so.
Oh, I believe it 100%. Because
we're more than that, I'm saying.
Nah, no way. Nah, I doubt it.
Up on the economy. No, we're 20% up.
I doubt it.
The independent numbers are rigged.
Well, again, you don't really like polls, but you've got nothing to substantiate that. Well, you told me before you don't like them. You don't trust them, remember?
No, I don't. No, I don't like them because they're mostly used as tools of the left to lie to people before they vote. That's what they're used for.
Well, I totally believe that there's only a 7% advantage on the economy overall, because they've done their best to propagandize people since the very beginning about tariffs and everything else. Your average person isn't paying as much attention as you or I are. So I believe the advantage is only 7% on the economy. That makes perfect sense to me. Because no way. Nah, because we
can disagree. Reasonable people can disagree, But I've written articles and done a lot of research on polls. I don't think that they're realistic, and people who listen to them just aren't really paying attention. Like, polls are not what this country's all about. Polls are lies. They rig the questions that are asked of the people. It's like Mark Twain said, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. And statistics are the worst of all of them. And that's what polls are. They're statistics that are publicized in order to generate the right response from the sheeple in the voting base.
Well, again, I think this is probably pretty accurate because, again, most people are not going to. People are looking at reality on the ground when it comes to economics. They're also dealing with a lot of propaganda from the left, or from the mainstream media. So, yeah, I think a 7% advantage is probably about right, considering what percentage of the country is behind President Trump right now and where his support is at, positive minus. He's been hovering around 45% to 47%. So I think that's totally realistic. Now, the other advantages are really where they should be concerned. Having a 22 plus advantage on crime. And this is, again, obvious why that would be, is what President Trump's doing. So they're tearing through the propaganda on that. People see the Democrats crying that it's a fascist takeover of Washington, D.C. or Chicago or everywhere else, but then they see the end results. So they don't trust the media. Same with immigration, same thing, obvious. Most of the country's behind that. But again, I would believe that, 63% support is where that's at because we have maniac Democrats and then we have sympathizers. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is probably a pretty close measure. It may not be exactly right on everything, but I'd imagine it's pretty close to where things are on the ground.
Well, so my distrust of polls comes from 30 years work in the media. And these are tools that the media use. You cannot, absolutely cannot trust CNN, Washington Times, AP, Reuters, ABC, Wall Street Journal, you can't, Pew Research, Quinnipiac. Let me just name as many polls as I can. There's only a handful, maybe one or two that can regularly be trusted. You cannot trust any of these other polls because they're part of the left-wing effort to dominate people's minds. And they're telling it when they say 45% support rate for President Trump, I'm like, no, because this country's only made up of 10% idiots. The rest of us are good Americans with good hearts, and we support Trump. I'm not saying
we're much higher than 10. We're much higher than 10% idiots.
They set up the question. Much higher than 10%? I don't know.
Oh, 100%.
I don't mind buying the Marxist claim that the majority of the citizens are idiots. I don't buy into that at all. I think that's his crucial mistake in marketing his little communist ideology. But in this case, I really believe that Trump's support is at least at 60%, at least. And they rig these questions about the support for Trump. You wouldn't believe some of the questions. It's like, so do you support President Trump in spite of his locking up innocent illegal immigrants? In spite of that, do you support him? And that's how they get a figure like 45%. Every one of those questions, do you support President Trump in spite of his trying to take away women's rights to kill their babies? They don't say to kill their babies.
Well, again, that may be part of it, but I also think, Trump's had some major missteps. We've talked about the Epstein stuff and all that a lot. So there's a lot of people withholding support right now. Lack of arrest. Same thing. There's a lot of people that were conservatives that voted for him that are now withholding support until they see results. So, I mean, I think, maybe.
I don't know. I know you do. But
I know you don't. But
I don't know any of those people. Well, so which side would you rather be on? You'd rather be on the side that's a little optimistic and is saying, I don't know any people who are withholding support? Or would you rather be on your side and be like, there's a bunch of people, warning, there's a bunch of people withholding support?
Reality. That's where I want to always be.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're in reality and I'm not. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, false optimism doesn't help us. I know a lot of people like to do that, but I'd rather deal with the situation on the ground, and this is easily explainable. I think the 45% is good. I mean, that's higher than most presidents get. He may be at 47 right now. It bounces back and forth. This tends to, this is above average for most presidents, especially anywhere into their term. Rarely do they get above 50%.
Yeah, if I recall, Biden, Obama, and Clinton were all three above 50% during their terms. And
maybe at a point.
That's just impossible. Now, I know you're going to go fact checking that. You're doing that right now. Yeah. But whatever. I mean, it's just, this is not optimism. This is believing in what's right and true. And President Trump is changing this country. And the fact that, 45 out of 100, only 45 out of 100 people are supporting him. That idea is blown away by the number of people who show up at Charlie Kirk's memorial, by the number of people who showed up at his rallies, by the number of people that I just talked to out on the street. Even in a liberal city like Austin, Texas, or Berkeley, if you wear your MAGA hat to the grocery store, you'll get some sneers, but you'll also get quite a few people saying to you, and this is in a totally liberal environment, you'll get quite a few people saying, coming up to you and going, hey, love the hat, love President Trump. So he is winning all across the board, and this 45% number is just a lie.
Oh, maybe, but I guess we'll see, because again, it doesn't really matter. You also have to consider you have big states like California and New York that he's underwater in, because they have so many liberals out there, and that affects your total polling numbers. So when you look at across
in New York, that's pretty darn good. That's if you're doing a poll in New York like CNN is, that corresponds not neatly with the 45% support. He won 43% in New York.
Now let's see where we're at. Well, yeah, that was at the election, but that's not an indicator where current support would be. That's not exactly how that works. So let me see if we can find some current numbers on New York polling.
On the economy, $2.28 a gallon gas in South Carolina. That's all I got to say on that. There's so much more. The tariffs, the no taxes on Social Security, tips, and overtime. That's all coming. The tips happened yesterday. That was secured and done. And so, I think people are more optimistic. Small business is going through the roof. They're very happy, the small business owners. So this only up to 7% when it was at 3% before the election. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's been a radical transformation that Trump's put into the economy. Only going up 4%. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it makes perfect sense to me because, again, we've had this endless wave of pessimism from the media, and there's enough people out there that believe that. It isn't about reality. It's about what the poll number, or it's about reality. It's not about adding hope into the equation, because there's a lot of people that still pay attention. That's why why the numbers are the way they are.
I don't think anybody's paying attention to the leftist media. We talked about Kimmel at 156,000 every day.
I think it's fewer.
We talked about CNN and everybody else. Those guys can be shut down tomorrow and nobody would really care.
It's definitely fewer, but again, it's this endless stream of information coming from them that still gets out on social media. And when it comes to some of these things like the tariffs, the right doesn't do a very good job of getting our point of view out there. You got to dig for it.
I think the numbers of viewerships corresponds beautifully with my 10% estimate of stupidity in America.
I think the stupidity, it has to be at least 21% because that's who's still supporting the Democrats. So the stupidity numbers, I think, are probably about a quarter of the population that are always.
That's if you think they're not stealing elections and rigging votes. But everybody you and I can agree they're stealing elections and rigging votes. So the 21% number is highly suspect.
Well, no, that's who, what party are you supporting? They're not stealing the polls too. They may be stealing elections, but yeah, again, I think this is pretty accurate, and that's a huge drop for Democrats. It's almost half their support prior to the last election. So, I think that's probably accurate. There's going to be a lot of people.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, again, what makes you think more people than that would have left the party, even with what we're still watching? There's going to be a lot of people that are going to hold on, no matter, put their thumbs in their ears and just continue to vote Democrat no matter what. And then there's also obviously a radical core there. I think
what makes you think more people have left the party? You're talking about the constant claim and the droning on, the lies about how many people have left the Republican Party to become independents?
No. I'm talking about we've seen a huge number of people leave the Democrat Party, but I think the 21% that still support, that's probably pretty close to accurate. And we've seen it go down as low as 17% support for the Democrats, but it's mostly hovered around 20 to 21. So that's probably the most accurate number.
So after the phenomenal Charlie Kirk, if we don't see a radical change in those numbers, including Harry Enfield going down and putting his hands between his knees and going, oh, this is what's happening now. If we don't see him start to say, oh, people are supporting this country because the right, the Republicans and the MAGA base are the people who support God and Jesus Christ. If we don't see those numbers go up, and I notice they don't have any poll numbers on that, but if those numbers don't go through the roof, along with the economy, crime, and immigration, then we're going to really know we have a problem, because we're seeing people awakening across this country in a revival. So this is the way it's going to go. Can we agree on that? This is what we're going to see.
Hopefully. Yeah. I have some questions on what percentage of Democrats actually converted over, because what we're seeing now with the actual voter registration data come in from states is unfortunately not as high as they were saying originally.
That worries me too. That worries me too. I don't trust it. The converts are real.
Yeah. Well, again, the numbers there are direct reports. It's not a poll. It's not anything else. So, now we're hearing in Pennsylvania, it might have only been 12 to 1,400 crossover.
No, I have no doubt that the numbers are lying, that they are converting. I'm just saying, are they really converting to being a Republican in their hearts? I think they're retaining all their liberal ideals, and they're saying, boy, I better get over the Republican Party or my neighbors are going to start hunting me down with torches and pitchforks.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think a lot of them are easily swayed voters. And it won't take much to push them back to the other side. Now, again, that's not to say there aren't some real conversions, and where I think we will have more activity is from the independent voters that Trump was already winning over, and the right was already winning over, that are watching the left. But yeah, with some of the Democrat conversion numbers, yeah, unfortunately, those aren't seeming to be nearly as big as they were first reported. But again, hopefully that changes. Maybe some of these registrations haven't been processed yet and added to the totals. But Bill, I do want to thank you for joining us today. We do need to go ahead and run because we're already over our time. But thank you to our audience. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can